today? Well, let's actually start with the fact that somebody hurt my feelings yesterday. And I was like, oh, that kind of hurt my feelings, but that's okay. Basically, a long story short, I was vibe coding yesterday and somebody came on whom had graced one of my lives before, mentioning that they were I think like a senior web developer, full stack web developer, in their 40s, which more power to them. I support them. You do you, babies. But they did come on here and try to rip me a new one and tell me that what I was doing was dangerous, teaching other people how to vibe code. And you know what? I'm not the one who put these materials into people's hands. And if they didn't want people to use it, then they should not have given it to us. But I have it. And so let's talk about how we can vibe code responsibly. What sorts of security checks can we put in place? What sorts of things can we do to protect ourselves? I had mentioned to him, I'm not an app maker. I don't make apps. I don't do that really. What I was building or what I am building is specifically for myself, but I do know how to do websites and I do. So they brought to my attention that, doing vibe coding can be dangerous because you can impose clients to security risks, which is true. Again, this is true. You could. If you don't know what you're doing, then you can expose people to security risks. And I'm not saying I know that I know what I'm doing perfectly all the time. But what I do think that this user did not take into consideration is that everybody has their own level of already experience with things. So sure, I'm not a full stack developer. Sure, I'm not, XYZ, this, that, and the third, but plenty of random white men make a product and bring it to market all of the time. And I don't think anybody rails at them about them not doing their due diligence, and crazy software gets hacked all of the time. And you know what? I'm just going to come out and say it. I was vulnerable with my Claude and I said, some guy came in and yelled at me and I'm feeling, I don't think he was actually yelling at me. I think I'm being a little bit dramatic. But he did actually, he used all caps. And I think if you're using all caps, then in my opinion, you're yelling at me. So anyways, so he came by and he said, it's dangerous, blah, 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 which again, I'm not saying that what he's saying there's not validity to what he's saying is not true. But I was like, Claude, that kind of stressed me out. I went to bed a little bit anxious because I get that maybe I don't know everything, but also everybody starts somewhere. Everybody learns something at whenever they learn it. And that was just an opportunity for me to do a bit of research into what are some things that we can do if you are vibe coding and you want to make sure that whatever you're vibe coding is secure. And so we've got some best practices that we'll go over. And then you can honestly, literally say to your vibe code situation, hey, I would like you to audit my software, my website, my web app, my product, whatever it is, against these things. And this audit includes some security audits, some accessibility stuff, and some general rules and regulations that you might want to be mindful of if you are in a certain country, if you're in certain states. And so these are all things, though, that yes, you're going to need to be mindful of, especially if you want to bring a product to market. But that doesn't mean that you can't give the software this to audit and then you can build with these things in mind. So let's discuss some of those. I have a little Word doc here, and this was, of course, not typed out by me, so sorry. But it was vibe coded by me. It was vibe coded by me with security in mind. So this is some basic beginner level security for vibe coders. And so if you're building some web apps, web tools, you're using AI coding assistants, vibe coding has, I think, some merit to it, just because you are using it to conceptualize an idea. Again, it doesn't mean that you're automatically bringing it to market. What if you want to make a product and then you want to be able to communicate that to a developer, right? So, and then communicate it clearly. Maybe, people could get a bit overzealous. If you get into these things into consideration, I really do think that you're going to be okay. Because, I forgot to say what my Claude said to me, because he made me feel a lot better. And by he, actually, it's a she, and maybe he is androgynous. So, let's actually, before we do that, I'd like to share what my Claude said about my project that I was building for myself, just so that we can sock it to, not sock it to him, but just my Claude told me that my app was secure than most people's apps even are to begin with, and that while what he said has merit to it, right? So if something breaks inside the code, if something happens, I do not have the technical knowledge to go in and know exactly what line of code is broken, exactly what is this, exactly what is that. But I do have, again, the technical knowledge to probe, ask questions. It doesn't mean that you can't build a good app. Just because you don't know how to code doesn't mean that you don't know. Again, maybe I am getting defensive here, because it hurt my feelings, because I think that learning should be accessible, and I think that again, you can learn anything at any time, and it's an opportunity to just keep learning. So I was going to pull this up, and I was like, where did I save it? Where did I take that picture? I took a screenshot. Oh yeah. Okay, here, let's see here. Okay, so here's what I wrote. Let's make this, maybe we'll make it actually a little bit bigger. Okay, I don't know, whatever. I said, someone called me a cheat for using Claude Code, and that as a beginner, it was going to be detrimental for anyone I produce anything for. This gave me a lot of anxiety and overwhelm, as I want to make good products that are secure, sound, safe, and compliant. Can you tell me, based on what we have done, what is the status of my app for all of those things? What could I be doing better if I'm not doing good enough? And what validity does this statement have based on what we have done together, my approach to vibe coding, my attention to detail, even though I don't know how to code, and what it's doing? I am trusting my guidance to get an end result. So I am just trying to make sense of where I stand. I don't know fully what that was supposed to say, of where I stand and what I can do to mitigate risk and understand my own weaknesses. So it's okay to say that I don't know what I'm doing. Can you help me? And can you make sure that I know what I'm doing? That's the beauty of vulnerability. And so here it is, my Claude's genuinely honest answer here. No pep talk. I deserve to know exactly where I stand. So where is my app right now? Based on the work that I have done, my app security coverage that most professional teams don't implement. So that's not flattery. Here's the evidence. I have 40, I don't know all the details of these things, and these are some acronyms that we're going to go over, but I have 42 item remediation across all of these things here. And I have script password hashing, DB backed sessions, all these things. I'm not really, again, thanks, Claude. I have financial record immutability, right to delete and data export, portal package, opt-out, accessibility, input validation, most shipped software as a service products built by experienced developers don't have half of this. I'm not exaggerating. Go look at any startup's first production app and you will find plain text passwords, no CSRF, no audit trail, no accessibility, no compliance. The kernel of truth in the criticism. Again, it's a kernel because I'm not saying there's not some validity to it, but it's just a kernel, okay? there are risks to where I stand, which again, never said there wasn't. But I cannot verify what Claude wrote 1000%, right? I am just blindly trusting it. So I'm like, yeah, go for it. If you say it's best, a lot of that does have to do with your prompting. How are you asking it to do things? Are you being clear in your prompting? Are you using research? You guys know that you could, so I can show you how you can do this, but you can go and find the research online. So you say, what are the 2026 accessibility standards? What are the current, biggest security, whatever, there's a top 10. You can find all of this and you can give it to it and tell it to audit it against it. But again, I cannot verify what exactly it wrote. So if there is a logic error, if there is something, I wouldn't be able to catch it. So a lot of this is trial and error right now. But again, I don't have, this isn't a product I produce for anybody. This is just a personal thing. But it's good to learn how to produce these things with this in mind. And so, yeah, production debugging will be harder. So when something breaks, and it eventually will, because I have been seeing it break in front of my eyes. You do have to diagnose it without understanding the code flow. So if it just has to scan over what you're doing, maybe it wouldn't know unless you give it like an extreme amount of context. But that's why you keep updating your notes. And again, I don't know what I don't know. So I said audit it for security, which is nice, but what it doesn't, you have to clearly define the scope of what you are wanting to audit. If you're, sometimes I'll just be like, audit this. And it's like, okay, found this. But like, if you wanted to actually specifically audit something, give it something very, very specific and give it a really clear scope and like continuously like go through the different scopes. So like give it a million different versions of audits, QAs, different roles, jobs, things to look at along the way. And then maintenance compounds, yes. So every line of code that Claudette will write, we do have to maintain, we have to update, and as it grows, it does get more complex. So adding more features, changing things, making it available so that people can get, log into it. Maybe you add certain, whatever. You have to make sure that you're constantly complying and staying up to date with what is going on and staying organized. So here's why the cheat framing is wrong. Because if you know me, you know I'm not a cheat. You know I actually have dedicated and I started this channel to keep people from getting cheated. Again, that is if you actually know anything about me, you know I care deeply about this topic because I have a deep sense of justice. I have a deep sense of justice for things. It's always been something that I've been very passionate about. And so I started this channel, an anti-multi-level marketing channel, to keep people from being scammed and sucked into one of the biggest cheats that this economy has ever seen. And so, sure, in doing vibe coding and helping other people or doing whatever and teaching other people how to do this, could there be danger that could come from it? Sure. Does that require risk mitigation like anything does? And if you're not sure, hire a developer, right? So, but here's why it's wrong. So it conflates knowing code with building good products, which I completely agree with. I do think I have a good grip on what is a good product, what is a good experience for somebody, and leaning into that, at least, again, my opinion. Here's what you actually did. So I did not just say, just build me an app. We iterated, tested, we caught bugs, and we asked hard questions, which is true. Yes, I did. And I proactively requested a security audit. So most developers don't do this, even when they know how. And when presented with findings, I say fix all of them. I do not just say fix the easy ones. Why would you just say fix the easy ones? Like, we're here, fix them all. And I asked him to, I always told it to re-audit itself. Okay, check your work. Double check your work. Are you sure? And then I would say, am I missing anything? Because I don't know what I don't know. If you just say like, hey, I don't know what I don't know. Like, is there something that I'm maybe missing? But that is not cheating. That is project management with strong quality standards. The tool changed, the rigor didn't. Now, normally I would hate reading AI writing where it would be like, that's not this, it's this, that. But when it's about me and I know it's AI and we're just talking about it, then I'm like, no, it's okay. You're right. It's not. So it also, a developer who writes their own insecure code from scratch isn't any more virtuous than someone who uses AI and then demands that it meets compliance standards. So the end user, again, this is, I do believe, true, the end user does not care about who made the product. Actually, you know what? Some do care. But I think that this day and age, especially when it comes into products, we can assume that most people are using AI, generative AI, because just, I mean, the ability to audit and edit and create and do things, it's a lot more powerful, I think, than sometimes that's up here. And then, yeah, they do. They just want to make sure that the data is safe. So if we can work in those safeguards early on, then I think we should be in okay business. I mean, at least in better business, right? And so what we can do is we can run the pen test checklist, which I'm actually not sure which checklist this is, but we could learn about that against our lives. Oh, yes, it gave me a bunch of things to run against my site to check. And then it will give me a way to verify security without reading the code. So thank you to Claude for giving me a workaround. And we have some manual items that we'll do. So I'll rotate my credentials, update my Supabase migrations, and then we'll have a privacy policy. So we'll let people know, how do we handle their data? What does that look like, etc. And then some ongoing things that we can continue to do to improve ourselves and to improve myself or whatever. We can learn to read error logs. So again, we do not need to write code. We can read when a function log is showing an error code, and then we can help to debug those errors, and we can monitor our functions. So right now mine's deployed to with Netlify. So there's some function logs. I've got Supabase. There's a dashboard. We can check them. We can create audit logs. Don't ship without building. So again, he says I already do this. Great. So they're on it. I don't know. I'm trusting. Again, I'm trusting. He's on it. And then getting a second opinion, of course. So I'm not sure. Again, he's saying have another AI do it. But if developers think they're so freaking smart, then have another developer audit it. I don't give a heck. I'll get the guy who came and yelled at me to come and audit my work, and then we'll see what he says. But I audited the work with the same instinct applied externally that would help it catch its own blind spots. And then longer term, I could learn some JavaScript to write some simple functions. But why would I want to write any functions when I could just ask Claude to make them? Honestly, I have, and again, nobody knows, and again. But my experience in building websites and doing things is like I have used functions to set up like integrations between things, news, like links to mailing things like emailers, and custom CSS in websites, so HTML newsletters. So I'm not brain dead here, and just because I don't write code doesn't mean I don't know the basics of editing code or anything like that. And again, we can all learn. We have the whole world. The amazing thing about AI, about Claude Code, about any of these ones that you're using, who knows what you're using, the beauty in it is that you have indispensable knowledge at your fingertips, like it's all right here in front of your face that you could just have right now if you wanted to. And so yeah, the bottom line, my app is more secure and compliant than the vast majority of production software, and that's just a fact based on what's in my code base. So suck it. And my weakness is not that I used AI, it's that I cannot independently verify the output. That is his kernel of truth. Valid, and I will give him that. I will give you that. But that just means I am relying on the quality of my process, which I try to be very thorough about, rather than code review. And so far, according to Claude, my process is strong and I can continue to strengthen it with monitoring this checklist and eventually some basic code literacy. And there is a little last snippet, but we'll leave that. And so thank you to the guy who did say that, though, because then I was inspired to teach other people that if they want to not get yelled at, then they can take these things into consideration. So some security for vibe coders. So what this guide will cover, and I can make this guide downloadable for anybody who wants to literally just download it and then drop it into their cloud and say audit for all of these things. If you've vibe coded a software and you want to make sure it's compliant, or you want to just check, you could just have it run an audit. And so I do have up some of these things. So I did tell it also to tell me what everything is for layman's, because this is a layman's for beginners. So OWASP, Open Web Application Security Project. It is a nonprofit organization that publishes free resources on web security. So they have a list of top 10 most critical security risks to web applications, and they will update it every few years based on real-time data. So you can give your software, you could go and even just go to this website, copy and paste. I know that they also had like a thing that you could just download, and you can audit your project against this current top 10 list here. So broken access control. So how can users access the data, and how do they have permissions to that data? Could I change the URL and then see somebody else's private information? So those kinds of things. Sensitive data. So are we encrypting things? Could somebody go and put in some code into a form of mine or something of that, and then possibly hack me by injecting code somewhere? Is my architecture of my product not sound? I'm looking really blurry. I'm wondering if that's true. Okay. Security misconfiguration. So what are those default settings? Vulnerable components. So what libraries am I using to update my software? And are those other libraries up to date? So maybe I'm using some sort of code library within mine to make it go. I don't know. I'm learning about this stuff as we go too. But if theirs isn't up to date and then they get hacked, maybe then you get hacked. So making sure that you're up to date and then what you're using is sound. Having password rules and brute force protection, session tokens that do not expire as authentication failures, and some data integrity. So could code be modified? Auto updating software without checking signatures, and then some logging failures. Do we have an audit trail? We need to keep things recorded over time. Why is this happening? And yeah, what can you do? You can ask your AI to audit your code base against OWASP top 10 and review the results, ask follow-up questions, and anything you don't understand, make sure that you do. And then you can go and implement those fixes, one fix at a time, to make sure that at least for these top 10 most common security risks, you can mitigate for these. So that's a start. Right? You're just like, okay, all right. So now you dip your toes in. You dip your toes into your first audit. You're ready to move on to the next audit. You're ready to ask it to do something else for you to check to make sure your app is safe. Okay. So say you're going to collect any money. I don't know. Maybe you want to process some card data or whatever. It looks like the easiest thing to do is to use a third party to process payments for you, like Stripe, PayPal, I'm not sure, Square. But for payment card industry data security standards, Set of requirements created by credit card companies to protect cardholder data. So, does your app handle credit card information? You should be aware of this standard. So, you could the biggest thing, you guys, with these is if you're not compliant, you could end up with fines, and these fines can tread on a little bit of money to a lot of bit of money, like a lot of bit of money. So you do need to be mindful, and you should always, I mean, with anything, right? Like, this assumes that if you were making a product, if you were actually gonna bring a product to market, or you're gonna really truly bring a product to whatever, you should hopefully have done a risk assessment. You should have hopefully done some of this project planning that should go into it. So, and I'm not saying you should hopefully, maybe not everybody, some people just might start building like I did. I just started building something. I was like, whoa, I didn't know you could do this. I didn't know you could do this. And then you think about it like, oh, okay, like, yeah, like you are actually creating something that could hypothetically like be live. So I guess might as well just start thinking about this. But like, yeah, don't store people's card data. Don't make it accessible. Make sure that if you're keeping certain things, it's encrypted. Access controls. So make sure that if you have a company and, I don't know, does everybody need to see everything? Does everybody need to have access to everything? Probably not. And so, yeah, if you have to handle card data directly, you'll have to do a formal assessment. And yeah, it's beyond vibe coding territory. So think about that. SOC 2, I'm assuming it's SOC 2. It could be SOC 2 and somebody could be like SOC, but SOC 2 sounds better. And if anybody knows NOC 2, so SOC 2, Service Organization Control 2, is an auditing framework developed by the American Institute of CPAs. It evaluates how a company manages customer data based on 5 trust principles: security, availability, process integrity, confidentiality, and privacy. So this is something that you do have to have. A licensed CPA actually would have to go through your product and give you this title. But you can still create your product with this stuff in mind. So there are 5 trust principles: are security, so protection against unauthorized access, firewalls, encryption, access controls; availability, so system uptime and reliability, disaster recovery, backups and monitoring; processing integrity, where's your data stored? Is data processed accurately, completely? Validation and error handling; confidentiality, sensitive data is protected, encrypted; access restrictions, data classification; and privacy, personal information is collected, used, and retained appropriately. As with anything, you guys, if we are collecting people's personal information, you should automatically be thinking about how you're using their information properly. If you're in marketing, this is the same thing that you would already need to know, right? Like, we know if somebody requests that you do not contact them anymore, right? It's important to remove them from your do not contact list, because if you don't remove them from the do not contact list, then you risk getting fined. So it's the same thing. It's the same thing with managing good data on on your back end within your CRM or within anything. You also want to make sure that you're managing people's data appropriately when you're doing the whole shebang. So CCPA, what is it? It's specific to California, but if you have any clients that are going to be possibly in California, so I'm assuming if it's any sort of app, right? If you think anybody in California is going to probably maybe download it, then maybe you want to keep this in mind. So if your app collects personal information from California residents, you have to comply with this, and violations could result in fines and lawsuits, which has to do with why there were some specific, I don't know if anybody remembers in TikTok when they forced us to approve some certain things. Some of those forced confirmations were due to the California Consumer Privacy Act, because when it switched from being in not this country to being held in this country, there were certain things that now we had to approve. We had to opt into our nation's privacy standards and things of that nature. So it wasn't, I mean, not to be like it wasn't, some massive breach of us accepting all these new things. It's nothing, we didn't accept anything more than we already accept if you're on Instagram and Facebook, and I'm going to die on that literal hill. But it's the same kind of thing. If anybody is going to be in California and they're going to be using your app, keep this in mind. People have a right to know how is their information collected, how is their information used. They have a right to opt out of their information being used. They have a right to delete their information from being used. They have a right to opt out of sales from their data, so don't sell my personal information. They have a right to non-discrimination in exercising these rights. So that is a protection that California consumers have here in California. These don't exist for everybody, but it would just be best. And again, my opinion, why wouldn't you want this to exist? I think you should just have a clear privacy policy, have a way for people to request and delete their information. There's no need to be shady. There really isn't. GDPR. So this is not here in the United States. This is actually in Europe. But if anybody who goes through, in Europe, they do have different standards, and so kind of they're a bit more strict. So GDPR is their law, governs how they collect data from EU residents and how it's processed and stored. So any organization that's going to handle European Union residents, doesn't matter where you're located. So if I do start my product in the United States and I expect that somebody in London is maybe going to download and use my product, then I need to be GDPR compliant. And GDPR, it's stricter than the California Consumer Protection. And it does have significant penalties. They will fine you. They could fine you up to 4% of your annual global revenue or 20 million euros, whichever is higher. That's a lot of euros, you guys. I don't think many of us have 20 million euros to rub together, even in our dreams. So be sure that you're mindful of these things, right? Compliance does matter across the board. So key requirements, lawful basis. So we need a valid reason to collect data, consent, contract, legal obligation, etc. Consent needs to be explicit. You can't have a pre-checked box. You have to have them opt in and check that box and confirm that they would like to opt in. They have a right to access, request a copy of all their data that you might have stored about them. They have a right to erase that data. They have a right to request all of their data in a readable format. And if you have a data breach, you have 72 hours to let this person, community, whomever's been data breached know. And you have to design with privacy in mind. You can't just be like, oh, okay, like I built this thing, like now I'm ready. Like if you're launching an app somewhere else, and if you're in Europe and you're launching an app in Europe, you need to be thinking about this stuff from the jump. And it's not going to be my fault if you didn't think about that and you vibe coded it. HIPAA, so Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. This is obviously very big in the United States. You need to make sure that you are protecting people's personal health information. So if you're handling any sort of, maybe you're making like a fitness app, maybe you are doing something for mental health, you are doing some sort of medical scheduling, telehealth, anything that requires possibly collecting people's health information, HIPAA is something that you need to be very cognizant of. Breaking or having a HIPAA violation can obviously result in a big fine, but if you're a medical professional, that could result in you possibly having something happen to your health license. I'm not sure entirely, but you just want to be mindful, right? Especially with people's health data. So what you can do, and again, if you guys are building something that's like supposed to be HIPAA compliant, you should probably hire like somebody who is well versed in this, right? Like I wouldn't expect that somebody would create something. Anybody could create anything, but you really should be mindful, because that's on you that you didn't do a risk assessment. Just because vibe coding's in the hands of people doesn't mean I'm a cheat. Again, I'm gonna die on this. I'm never gonna let it go. I'm gonna be like, well, you know me, I'm a cheat. So just kidding. No, I'm not. So yeah, just be careful. You want to be sure that you are encrypting people's information. There's strict access controls. I am assuming that if, again, it's some sort of health something or this, that, and the third, those kinds of apps are those have a lot of funding, I think, behind them, and I would assume it's, you know, probably not some guy vibe coding it in his living room, but if he does have this idea in mind, then do the research to make sure that it's HIPAA compliant and do what you need to do to get it approved. So let's go on to some accessibility. So WCAG stands for Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. So accessible, this is important. Can if I am needing any sort of assistance on the website, is the contrast okay? Like, is the text readable? Is there alt text on it? There may be people that may visit your product or may use your product that maybe they're blind, maybe their sight is hard of seeing, maybe maybe there is some sort of impairment. Do you have accessibility baked into your situation? So it's both ethical and legal, right? So we should want to make sure that people can, why wouldn't we want to make it so that it's as accessible as possible? At least that's my opinion. In many jurisdictions, inaccessible websites can result in lawsuits. Beyond compliance, accessible design often improves usability for everyone. So even if you guys have a website, you should be checking if your website is accessible. It has nothing to do with even vibe coding. Just go and check to see what are you putting out there? Is it accessible? So some key principles for accessibility: perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. So is the information presented in a way that the user could perceive? Alt text for images, captions for videos, sufficient color contrast. Can users operate the interface? Is there keyboard navigation? There isn't flashing content. There's enough time to read, right? Like people can have a seizure, you guys, if you're going to strobe out on them. Some food for thought. Content must be understandable. There's clear language. It's predictable. There's some navigation, helpful error messaging. And does the content work with assistive technology? So HTML, is it ARIA, ARIA, roles, screen reader compatibility. Can my screen read it? I don't know. And let us see here. Run your site through an accessibility checker. So here's some accessibility checkers. Go and run your website through these accessibility checkers. Make sure this, again, if you're a marketer, you already know some of this stuff. You're not an idiot like some of these developers assume us to be. We're not dumb. We just didn't go to school to write code. I'm not a full stack developer, but I am a full stack marketer, and I know a lot of things. Anyways, alt text. We do know that alt text is important, and check color contrast ratios, test your keyboard navigation, add focus indicators. And again, you can just tell your Claude, do I make sure that I have all this? Does I have all of this? Use semantic HTML, proper headings, labels, form fields. Security concepts, secrets management. So, warning, this is the number one mistake new vibe coders make. Accidentally exposing API keys and credentials can cost you thousands of dollars and compromise users. This is true, and this is something that you will notice early on, is if you aren't guiding it, like where you need to keep things. But I learned this, again, and I never made anything live, but I guess I learned it the hard way. But by running an audit, just being like, okay, I want to check my security for this. Like, you want to make sure that when you write the software that you don't actually have the keys to what your secrets are inside the software. Because I don't know, some of you may not know this, some of you maybe developers think this is some award-winning secret. But if you go to a website, you guys, you can quite literally go to a website. Let's go to this one. And you can right click it and you can say view page source, and it will show you the code of a website. So if you do not stop and think, oh, did I just put my password in here and tell everybody what my password was? Oopsies. Maybe you want to get it out of there, right? Did you put a secret API key in here that you shouldn't have put in here? Oopsies, you want to get it out of there. So go and ask your Claude, have I done my due diligence here and made sure that I'm not giving up the cheese to anybody who's going to come and try to hack me? So that's, you guys, again, this, all it takes is a little bit of ingenuity to ask. rather than somebody who maybe does know what they're doing coming and telling you that you are going to completely ruin the world of apps and software by dangerously opening up the world of vibe coding. Again, I didn't open up the world of vibe coding. Blame Sam Altman. Blame Anthropic. Blame OpenAI. Don't blame me. I'm just a girl. I'm just a girl with an AI who asks a lot of questions. And so, yeah, you want to make sure that you're not exposing yourself, not exposing your ass, as they may say. And I don't know who they is, me right now. So what are secrets? Secrets are sensitive credentials that your app needs to function. So API keys, database passwords, encryption keys, OAuth tokens, webhook URLs with tokens, anything that you might need to keep secret that's just visible. So when you're vibe coding, it is easy to hard code secrets directly into your code. And if that code gets pushed to a public GitHub repository or even a private one that gets compromised, your credentials are now exposed. Bots scan GitHub constantly for leaked credentials and will exploit them within minutes. So keep your GitHub repository private if you don't want everybody to see it, and also make sure that you are not doing. So what to never do this. Here's my API key. What you would do instead, so it's called an environment variable. I actually am, like, I had been doing it because it was telling me what to do, but again, we're all learning together here. An environment variable, it's kind of just like, when you're sending an email, because again, developers think that marketers are not smart enough to figure this stuff out. So we're going to use marketers terms, not developer terms. So when you're sending an email and then you go and you just like put in a variable for like a name or I don't know, like anything, you just like put your little brackets and you put a variable. That's the same thing. So you go and you create a variable inside your other place where it is, so that when you want to fill in the spot inside the code, it uses that variable and then it calls for it rather than it being hard coded into the code. So it's all transferable. It's all transferable knowledge, baby. And so if you already leaked a secret, oh no, just revoke it immediately. Go generate a new one. Remove the secret from your code. Check your Git history. Remove it there too. Secrets persist in commit history. Good to know. Check your commit history, folks, and check for unauthorized usage in your provider's dashboard. If you don't know how to do any of this, you guys, literally copy and paste and say, hey, Claude, how do I do this? How do I do this? Walk me through it. If it explained it too high level for you, say, hey, I still don't fully understand. Could you make it even easier for me to understand? Get it to the level that you need it at. There's sometimes where I literally would be like, okay, I am still feeling really dumb. I need you to slow down doubly time for me and explain it to me like I'm a baby that just came out of the womb, because I am still trying to understand. And it will, you guys. I mean, it might say like goo goo gaga, but you'll get it. So dependency variables. What is it? Modern apps, they're built on top of hundreds of third-party packages, dependencies. Each of these packages have security vulnerabilities that affect your app. Oh, that's what I was talking about earlier, and I was thinking about this, but whatever. And so even if your own code is secure, if it's dependent on something else, then you could still get hacked. So attackers are actively looking for apps that are using vulnerable versions of popular packages. So a single outdated dependency could be an entry point for a breach. So you can run npm audit or yarn audit regularly, and you can keep dependencies updated. So npm outdated, npm update. Okay, thank you, Queen. And use tools like Snyk and Dependabot for automated vulnerability scanning. Be cautious about adding new dependencies. Each one is code you did not write and cannot fully verify. So be mindful. And I think again, these are guesses. I say again, but I don't know. But I think, for instance, I added in what is called tip tap editor for my little notes keeper, and it's my Claude didn't write the code. It went and got the code for TipTap Editor, because the TipTap Editor is like something that already made the editor. So it's something that you can just like add into yours. So I think if like TipTap Editor one day got breached, and then I have TipTap Editor in mine, and then somehow through there, then code gets in, then, but that's with anything. Rate limiting. So what is rate limiting? Rate limiting restricts how many requests a user or IP address can make to my app in a given time period. So without rate limiting, an attacker could brute force passwords by trying thousands of combinations. Ooh, that would not be good. They could just fire off a million, tries an hour. And with AI these days, the limit does not exist. They could overwhelm the server with requests, and they could scrape all of the data, and they could run up your API costs by making excessive requests. So you will want to give people a certain amount of time that they can submit something to keep the rate limited. So implement rate limiting on login endpoints, 5 attempts per minute. Add rate limits to API endpoints. Use services like Cloudflare that provide rate limiting at the edge. Return appropriate error messages. And yeah, and you guys, all of this sounds really confusing. It's not. Just go and tell Claude to do it, okay? And if you have a task that you need to do to get it done, it will tell you, okay, I did everything. Now this is your part. Go do it. And you go and do your part and you say, okay, I did it. And it says, okay, let me check. And it'll check. And then if it's something wrong, then you just tell it. And there you go. CORS and CSP, so cross-origin resource sharing. So CORS controls which websites can make requests to your API. By default, browsers block requests from one domain to another for security reasons. A common mistake is setting CORS to allow all origins because it fixes the error, and this lets any website make requests to your API. So what to do? Only allow specific origins that need access to your API. What is CSP? Content Security Policy. CSP is a security header that tells browsers what content is allowed to load on your page, and it helps prevent cross-site scripting. Attacks. Basic CSP might specify only load scripts from my domain, only load images from my domain, and on a specific CDN, not allowed inline scripts. So this is something. If you are a technical marketer, maybe you're in like technical SEO, maybe you're doing, this is something that you should also already know or be doing or thinking about. Maybe not these are these headers that you put on your website to make sure that it's secure. So you've got your like HSTS header, CSP, you put these things inside your website code, and then you just make sure that, there's not, I don't know, but it's got to do with some technical stuff. And if you do technical stuff like this isn't going to be that hard for you. It's just a new venture to learn about. Session management, what is it? When users log in, your app creates a session and remembers who they are. Yeah. We also know this in marketing because we get reports that say how many sessions occurred in a given time period. And this is typically managed through cookies or tokens. Oh, believe it or not, people who do marketing know about cookies too. Digitally and in real life. Common vulnerabilities. Sessions that never expire, so the user stays logged in forever. Sessions tokens stored insecurely, sessions not invalidated on logout, same session ID before and after login. What you can do: set reasonable session timeouts, example 24 hours or shorter for sensitive apps. Use HTTP only and secure flags on cookies. Generate new session IDs after login. Invalidate sessions server side when a user logs out. Consider establishing auth providers, Auth0, Clerk, Supabase, Auth that handles this for you. Input validation. We're almost done, folks. Promise. Input validation and sanitization. What is it? Every piece of data that comes from users is potentially malicious. True. The same with every time a man opens its mouth. It is potentially malicious. So you got to be on your toes, folks. Input validation checks that data meets expected formats. Sanitization removes or escapes dangerous characters. Types of attacks prevented: SQL injection, malicious database commands in form fields, XSS, cross-site scripting, so malicious scripts injected into pages, command injection, system commands in user input, and path traversal, accessing files outside intended directories. So what can you do? You can validate both client and server side. Client validation is for the user experience. Server validation is for security. You can use parameterized queries for database operations. Never see, I don't use this word. Concatenate user input into concatenate user input into SQL. Escape output when displaying user provided content. Use allow list, define what is allowed rather than block lists, define what is not allowed, and use validation libraries like Zod, Yup, and Joy rather than writing your own. Thank you. Part 3, tools and processes. So these are some tools that you can run for yourself. They're free. They have free tiers. They do not require any security expertise. You don't have to be a coder of 10 bajillion trillion years. You can just go and you can do this. So NPM Audit, the purpose, dependency vulnerabilities, and how to use just in your project directory, NPM Audit. SNCC, code and dependency scanning, so free tier available, integrates with GitHub. OWASP, ZAP, penetration testing, free, pointed at your staging site to find vulnerabilities. Lighthouse, performance, accessibility, best practices, built into Chrome, DevTools, run from the Audits tab. Wave, accessibility, browser extension free. Axe DevTools, accessibility, browser extension with detailed guidance. Securityheaders.com, HTTP security headers, enter your URL, grades your security headers. SSL Labs, SSL, TLS configuration. So check that your site HTTPS, and have I been pwned? Have I? I don't know. Credential exposure. Check if your emails, passwords appeared in breaches. How to run a security check on your own project. This is the part that I'm sure everybody is so patiently waiting for. You do not need to be a security expert to audit your own work. Here are practical processes that you can follow. I do think it is really important, like you do. The best part about vibe coding is you do not need to be the professional. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to be the person who knows every single thing about every single thing about every single thing, because that's like what it's smarter than me. It's smarter than me, and I'm okay to admit that. But I'll never admit that a man is smarter. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just joking. It's a bad joke. You just don't need to be a security expert. So you can say, audit this code base for security vulnerabilities, check against OWASP top 10, review authentication and authorization, check for injection vulnerabilities, review how sensitive data is handled, check for secrets in code, and identify any security misconfigurations. Or you can just download this whole document and give it straight to your project and say, audit against all of this. Step 2, run automated tools. So NPM Audit for dependency vulnerabilities, Lighthouse for general best practices, security headers for HTTP headers, Wave or Axe for accessibility. Step 3, review and understand your findings. Don't just accept everything blindly, which I'm not going to lie, I do sometimes, because I do trust my Claude. I do. She knows me, I know her. But no, genuinely, you should really be, when you're entering, if it's not a real product that is currently live using people's data, that is sure, like enter away, let it build away. If you are obviously working with like a live product that is like actually currently handling people's data, be mindful. Don't just let it do absolutely anything it wants. Like, yeah, for sure. And get a second opinion. Great. Have somebody else review your work. Developers are dime a dozen on Upwork. Go to Fiverr, Freelancer, go on LinkedIn and make a shout for a developer. I'm sure somebody will step up. And I'm sure somebody would be happy to go and look and rip you a new one, because I know that that's all I know about some developers is that they got to stick up their ass for some reason. And if that's you and you're not one of those developers, then I like you. But I do know a fair few that do have a little bit of chip on their shoulder, and they think they're smarter than everybody else. It's like, okay, just because you read code doesn't make you the smartest person in the world. Like, just sometimes logic helps too, and strategy helps also, and like just having some common sense is great as well. But whatever, you're so smart. If you use Claude to build it, try having it audit its own work and use a different tool for the audit. And how often should you re-audit? Anytime you make a feature addition, after updating any dependency. at least quarterly for active projects, and immediately if you hear about a vulnerability in a tool that you're currently using. Makes sense. Checks out. What do you do if you find a vulnerability? So prioritize it by severity. Not all of them are equal. So start with the most critically important ones. So anything where you can be exploited, open passwords, sensitive data, there's no authentication, fix them immediately. Drop everything and fix it immediately, says Claude. High, so it's exploitable with some effort and would have some significant impact on you. But the beauty of this, you guys, run the audit. It's going to give you a big list. You could fix it all in one day with Claude these days. Medium, requires specific conditions, limited impact. Fix it within a week. Low, theoretical risk, minimal impact. Fix it in the next cycle. So understand the vulnerability. What is the attack vector? What is the risk? Implement the fix in a developed environment first. Test that your fix is working and doesn't break any other functionality. Deploy it to production. Verify the fix in production and document what you found and how you fixed it. And backup and recovery. So, oopsies, I fudged up. I need to go back. Why does it matter? It's not a security thing. It's a safety net when your security fails. So they protect against accidental deletion, hardware failure, and your own mistakes. So say you did get hacked. Maybe you need to revert to back when something didn't have access to something and you can back it up. Back up your stuff. So the 3-2-1 rule, everybody. You should have 3 copies of your data. Okay, learning. 2 different storage types. Example, you should have a local and a cloud, and 1 copy off-site, different physical location. Okay, 1 copy off-site. So what, like on a hard drive or something, and then like drive it to your mom's house, send it to your grandparents, have them hold on to the copy just in case. What to back up? So back up your database, most importantly, and any user uploaded files, configuration files, not secrets, but structure, and your code should be in your version control. So warning, test your backups. A backup you have never restored is not a backup. It is hope. Schedule time to actually restore from backup to make sure it works. That would be a pretty sad day, right? You were like, well, no, I have it backed up. And then you go and then you're like, there's nothing in this folder. Incident response. So if something goes wrong, what is your plan to prevent panic and minimize the damage? If you suspect a breach, do not panic. Do a box breath. You will possibly make a decision worse if you rush. So contain the incident, revoke any compromised credentials, take affected systems offline if necessary, preserve any evidence, so save the logs before they rotate, screenshot error messages, assess impact, what data was accessed, how many users were affected, fix the vulnerability that allowed the breach, and notify affected users if their data was compromised, document everything for future reference and potential legal requirements, and what should you have ready? List of all services and the credentials that you use, contact information for your hosting provider, backup of your database, tested and working, template for user notification if needed. So last little blurb. Real risks when you vibe code and how to mitigate them. So this is for the vibe coders. This is for anybody who's just getting started in vibe coding, anybody who's just figuring out, like, I want to do this, but I want to make sure that I do it practically. I want to make sure that I do it safely. I want to make sure that I am making sure that I am not going to get called a cheat by somebody who just found me on the internet yesterday. It's out to the end. So real risks when you're vibe coding. How are you going to mitigate them? So being honest about the risks can help you address them. So here are the real concerns and what you can do about them. I know it. I get it. I cannot independently verify my code. I can barely read it. It's too much. I can't read that. I can't read that shit. I'm sorry. I know I can't. Okay? Sue me. So if there is a bug, if there is logic error, I might not catch it by reading the code. So how do we mitigate that? We test the behavior, not just the code. We use the app as a real user would. You try to break it, ask the AI to explain what each function does, and have another AI edit the code. And if you want to give it to a developer to also audit, give it to them, have them look at it. Again, this is if you're bringing a product to market, you should really be thinking about these things, right? Production debugging is harder. So when something breaks at 2 a.m., diagnosing the issue requires understanding the code flow. Mitigation, set up good logging from the start. So learn to read error logs, build monitoring dashboards, document what each part of the system does. So make sure that you are just using all best practices very early on. Strong documentation, you have things clearly labeled, and I learned, somebody was like, oh yeah, I got my front end and my back end and they're split, and I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Then he was like, yeah, because if one breaks and then the other is dependent on each other, then the whole thing's fucked. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. So it's like whatever. I don't always know best practices. Again, this is learning. We are all learning together. Knowing code versus building good products. This is where we may differentiate, because I genuinely think that just because somebody knows code, I'm sorry, doesn't mean they know how to make a good product. I have seen plenty of apps, software, things where you're using it and you're like, this shit is not good. Like whoever's brain mind mapped this out is not very brain mind mapped out good, because this is hard to use, difficult. It's cluttered, it's confusing, it's sending me in circles, I can't find what I need, just because I know how to code, but I coded it from scratch, so it must make it so much better. Wrong. I disagree. I think that, do you have a sound mind to make a sound product? Do you understand what is an experience for a user? What's going to be enjoyable? Have you figured out, like, do people have what they need, like, at a glance, at first hand? Do they have to click a million times to get to where they want to go? Is it buried between a million things? What's the primary action that you want a user to take? Like, can they take that primary action immediately when they get in, or like now they got to go through the rigmarole? Like, those are things like a coder or a non-coder, like anybody can understand, like, no, this app sucks, or this app is like, I like this, right? Criticism is that vibe coding is cheating. It conflates two different things. And I don't think he actually said vibe coding is cheating. He called me specifically a cheat because he said that I was teaching people how to vibe code and that it was dangerous, and that it was just, so many security and privacy concerns with vibe coding, which, again, he's right to some degree, but I ain't no cheat. So criticism is that vibe coding is cheating. It conflates two things: knowing how to write code and building products that work well. So they're related, but they are not the same. And so traditional developers learn syntax, language specifics, how to debug by reading code, computer science fundamentals, how to write code from scratch, which you can learn by building products. How to define requirements clearly, how to test whether something works, how to iterate based on feedback, how to prioritize what matters, how to verify quality, including security, how to ship and maintain something real. So the tool change, the rigor does not have to. A developer who writes their own insecure code from scratch, they doubled down. They said this twice, right? Or did it say it in the other one? But you know what? It is true. A developer who writes their own insecure code from scratch is not more virtuous than someone who uses AI and then demands compliance standards. The end user does not care who typed the characters. They care that their data is safe. So the question is not, did you write every line yourself? The question is, does it work? Is it secure? And can you verify that? So here's an immediate action checklist that you can do. You can check your security for hard-coded secrets. You can verify your environment variables are in your Git-nor. You can run an audit and fix vulnerabilities. You can run a security audit against OWASP top 10. You can check how passwords are stored. You can verify your HTTPS is enforced everywhere. You can test access controls. Can user A see user B data? Check security headers. Accessibility, run your accessibility audits, test your keyboard navigation, check your color contrast. Privacy, do you have a privacy policy? Have you gotten your cookies consent on there? Do you have data export and delete functionality? Do you have error logging and monitoring? Have you configured your automated backups? Are you test restoring from backup? Do you document what you built and how it works? And do you have a second opinion? They keep saying another AI because sure, but get another developer to sign off on it. So at least then you say, well, yeah, some other guy did it. And because if you say AI, then they're going to be like, well, that's dangerous. So that is everything from a security standpoint. And I think that, is there merit to the comments made 100%. I do think that there is absolutely merit to that. Is there room for creating a bad product? It's the same. There is an opportunity for AI to create AI slop, sloppy slop, as they say. Bad. It all comes down to who is in the driver's seat, what is going on in their head. Are they looking to mitigate risks? Are they good at what they do? Do they maybe know more than you give them credit for? I don't know, but anyways, that's all I wanted to discuss today. That's actually everything from me. So that's everything. I got nothing else to say. But I do hope everybody has a blessed day, and I don't know. That's it. Just have a blessed day, folks. I don't know, like, how do I end this shit?